Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage. Today we're going to work on a fun little and quick shop project. You guys know I like some of the vintage tool stuff and old industrial things when we're picking. And recently when we were in Detroit picking up the lift, you guys saw that we found this neat old pedestal that we dated back to the early 1900s. It actually held some tooling for a big giant wood lathe. And I grabbed this thing because I knew I wanted to repurpose it. Well, a light bulb went off in my head the other day, and I thought I need to make a pedestal for my second planishing hammer. So I have this old vintage planishing hammer that I've had on the shelf for years, and I thought it would be perfect to adapt this stand to make it into a pedestal for the planishing hammer. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to stiffen up the back spine of this so that it has a little bit less flex and will be a little more effective. So we're going to work on first getting this stand all stripped down. We're going to use the Eastwood Contour SCT to go over this thing and knock off a lot of the old paint, get some of the rust and everything all taken care of. Then we can get it sealed up and painted, and we can work on adapting all these different pieces I need for it, and we'll have something that's pretty usable in a quick and orderly fashion. All right, so Jeff did a great job with the Eastwood Contour SCT, getting this all knocked down, getting all the old paint, all the rust, the scale, everything off it, and it already looks 100 times better. I had him also go ahead and spray it with some Eastwood Fast Etch and wipe it all down. What that did was it took any residual rust that was in a little bit of the pits and things like that that maybe that wire bristle drum couldn't get to. And also took all the dust and residue off of it, so that it gave us a nice surface that we can actually spray some primer to, and then also top coat. But before we start painting and dressing up and making it look nice, I want to work on getting the pedestal section that's going to actually clamp to our planishing hammer all worked out and figured out. So I also had Jeff walk around and just go with the calipers and kind of find some stock that I had on the shelf that would work. So what we have here is a piece of round bar stock that is just a hair too big to fit into the opening on this pedestal. So what I'm going to do is throw this on the lathe, turn it down just a little bit that it needs to be turned down, that it'll actually slip inside of there. And also have another piece of tubing here that he cut that's going to work as our clamp and is actually going to fit around this tubing, and I'm going to make a clamp out of it. So I'm going to work on making this piece first, get it to fit so that we have plenty of area that is actually machined so it could drop down and give us some adjustment up and down for using the hammer in different heights, and then we'll work on this clamp section. All right, so we bolted up the planishing hammer, and it is looking cool. That was basically what I was going for here. We ended up cutting a little piece of inner tube, old inner tube, put that in there for a spacer, if you will, and also kind of helps clamp it. And then you can see everything's clamped together, nice and tight. And other than we're gonna have to address, we did a little test here, and this this little bolt that went through here, the pinch bolt or whatever you want to call it, was coming loose with the vibration. So I think we may have to actually drill a hole into this piece of tubing to locate it, because when you're using the planishing hammer moving it around, it's vibrating like crazy. So it's backing that out. So we'll have to do something about that. We're working on that. Now the next thing we're going to do is work on this planishing hammer. Just by nature has a ton of flex to it. You can just see me moving it. It has a lot of flex to the piece of tubing. So what I'm going to do is put a little rib on the back side of it just to take up some of that flex. So I have a piece of, I think it's 1/4 inch here, flat bar stock. This is the stuff I get at my favorite scrap metal yard, salvage metal yard, and I have just like 20-foot, 10-foot lengths of it. 20-foot lengths I cut in half. So we have these two sections here. So what we're going to do is actually heat and bend this to match the shape of the C here, and then we can drill some speed holes in it and put some stitch welds around, and that will probably strengthen that thing up quite a bit. So that's the next step, is to get that piece heated and bent and tack welded in place. plenty hot now. It should be able to pull that pretty good. Okay. Go down a little bit. Right. Give it a little tug. Right. Alright, a little more. Okay.
It's moving pretty good now. Really good now.
Got that corner nice and hot.
Yep.
Feel when it gets hot enough.
Yeah. Moving a little bit. It's moving. I think it's pretty close though.
What's that?
I think pretty close to the swoop. Like I'm on the head.
Give it springs back. Keep some pressure on it. We'll grab another clamp and we'll clamp it in place like that.
Alright.
Alright, everybody ready? Move it down a little bit.
There it goes. Start a little more. I think I'm up against switching off the crate.
right, so in the last couple of shots, what you saw was we were welding in the back spine section that we heated and bent, and that went pretty well. I just bounced back and forth, going from side to side, welding that in, using those Eastwood locking welding clamps to just kind of lock everything as we went, pull it all tight, and it seemed to go pretty well. At the very bottom here, where we trimmed it off, we had to do a little bit of heating and bending and hammering to get this last little bit to wrap around that we didn't even do on camera, but we just did it real quick at the end, and then I welded the end section here. What that did is that gave a lot of stability to the top of this. Now it still does have a tiny bit of flex to it, but it is like so much better now. It works much better. And we then went ahead and scuffed everything. I took a green scuff pad with some Eastwood Pre and went over the whole thing and kind of took all the grime and rust and old crap off of it. Then I came back the same as we did with the base here, sprayed fast etch on a scuff pad, went over the whole thing, got it all nice and saturated. Then we came back with a rag and just kind of wiped everything off, let it cure, and now this thing is sitting in a nice like bare metal finish, but it has that phosphoric coating on it from the Eastwood Fast Etch to actually keep it from rusting here in the shop. As long as this thing doesn't sit outside in the weather or anything like that, it's really not going to rust at all. And it has a really cool like aged industrial look. And I was going to paint it, and then the more I started looking at it, I just thought it looked really cool just as is, and we're gonna leave it as is for now. So the big thing I need to do, I did a test run on it, works awesome. It hits really hard. This Planishing hammer is a little different than the Cornwell one that I have that is more of a smoothing tool than actually stretching. This tool definitely has a lot more power and can stretch if you turn the air pressure, the power up, which is really good. But because it does have a little more power to it, it will walk this pedestal across the floor and you'll be chasing it. So what I'm probably going to do is drill some holes through the flat spots in the feet, put some lags in the floor, and then we'll run them down into the floor. That will keep the thing from walking across the shop. And if for some reason we need to move this out of the way to jockey things around the shop, we can just loosen the nuts up. It's not that heavy that we can't drag it off. So it should work okay. The other thing I'm going to add, probably off camera, maybe I'll do another video, is I'm going to add, I have a vintage Schrader foot pedal, which is somewhere over here. Here it is. I have this little like vintage, it's actually pretty cool. I should have had this ready, but it's this old ball valve, it's old brass Schrader ball valve with a foot pedal that says Schrader. It's just super cool. Came with actually I think it came with this Planishing hammer. I got 2 of them, and I'm going to use this, make a little plate and set it on the ground with a hose that goes from the air compressor, and then we'll go through here into the Planishing hammer, and that will allow me, instead of like a zip tie like I have it now, to work the trigger, and I can basically kind of change the pressure by using the foot pedal, which will be really nice if we're trying to blend things in or do whatever. It's always nice to have the foot pedal even just to turn it on from start. So I will be adding that, but that's just a quick little project with a couple of hoses to get that set up. Main thing is we got this fabrication done, and we were able to mate these 2 vintage pieces of machinery or tooling together to make something that is going to last another lifetime of work and saving old cars. So that is a quick little project video. We're hoping to do some more of these in the shop. We do little shop upgrades or project things with tools to hopefully give you guys some ideas of things you can do with salvaged industrial or old tools. Let me know what you guys think of the new Planishing hammer setup down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks guys, catch you later.